Russell Wilson has already earned himself a place in football immortality, better known as Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, when you look back at all that he has accomplished in the NFL, as a former third-round draft pick no less, it is hard to deny Wilson's status as one of the single best players of his generation. Despite having played for a team that is not a traditional powerhouse in the league, and a team that has had a roster that has turned over nearly 2 full times, Wilson has never had a single losing season in the NFL. Every single year since he entered the league as a rookie, a season in which he won 11 games, need I remind you, Russell Wilson has never won less than 9 games, he's missed the playoffs just once, and he's only been one and done in the postseason once. What an insane level of consistency, particularly in a league that we see so many players rise and fall in. Yet for all the consistency he and his team have had, along with the beastly picks, Russell Wilson has never received an MVP vote. Yeah, you heard that correctly.
You know, the funny thing about Wilson has not only never won the MVP award, he's never gotten a single vote for MVP.
We didn't say an MVP award, which he also hasn't won. We said he hasn't received a single MVP vote. Not one. I know it doesn't seem possible.
I would have voted for him last year, but the year before, I was late getting my ballot in, so they kicked me out of the club. I don't get to vote anymore.
Think about it. The guy's already had the monkey off of his back in terms of taking home the Lombardi Trophy, and he has been one of the most consistently great quarterbacks in the league, pretty much year in and year out since he entered the league. His resume all but speaks for itself. We're talking about a guy that was named Rookie of the Year, has been an All-Pro, and a 7-time Pro Bowler, as well as the NFL's passer rating leader in 2015 and the NFL's passing touchdown leader in 2017. It's hard to believe that this is the same guy that the Seahawks received oh so much criticism for when they took him out of Wisconsin back in the 2012 NFL Draft, as they had just signed free agent Matt Flynn.
I actually don't think Russell Wilson makes sense when you spend a lot of money on Matt Flynn. I don't know that many 5'11" quarterbacks who have succeeded in the NFL, and I certainly don't know many that go in the 3rd round that are set to be the backup quarterbacks for life.
Yes, that Matt Flynn, the former Packers backup. That was the guy media pundits were bashing that Wilson would pick over. But I guess that's why they get paid to drive headlines and not make actual personnel decisions for the teams.
If he were just a little taller, and you say, boy, he is what he is. He's 5'10" and a half. We'll push it to 5'11". I say he's a test case.
Because honestly, I don't know if there's ever been a single worse post-draft take than this one. Because Wilson as a Super Bowl champion has been an absolute stud at the NFL level. Not to mention the fact that he was a single play away from icing a 2nd Super Bowl victory back in 2015. We don't need to stir up any skeletons in the closet for Russ here, though. The point is that Russell Wilson is already one of the most accomplished NFL quarterbacks that we have seen. Not quite in the ranks of Tom Brady or Joe Montana, but year in and year out, he always has the Seahawks in the mix, and that is all you can really ask out of a franchise quarterback, which made it all the more surprising to learn that Wilson, for all of his accolades and the insane seasons that he has put up over the years, has yet to earn a single MVP vote. Let's turn back the clock and revisit some of Russell's best single-season outputs and see if we can piece together the mystery of how a guy that has been undisputed as one of the league's elite quarterbacks for so long now is so woefully left out of the conversation for the league's most coveted individual award each year. Arguably, Russell Wilson's best individual season came in 2018, when he rallied the troops in Seattle after the team missed the postseason of the 2017 season for the first time in Wilson's career. During that 2018 season, Wilson elevated his performance despite the fact that Pete Carroll seemed to be placing an increased emphasis on the run, as the quarterback had the lowest number of passing attempts since his 2nd season in the league. The decrease in Wilson's volume is a big reason why he quickly fell out of contention for the MVP race that year. Because in a league that is increasingly enamored with counting numbers, 3,448 passing yards and 35 touchdowns just isn't going to do it for voters, especially when you look at some of the numbers that the other quarterbacks put up that year. In fact, the passing numbers across the board were heinous during that season. There were 2 5,000-yard passers, not to mention 10 more 4,000-yard passers right behind them on the leaderboard. The fact of the matter is that Russell's total passing yards didn't even crack the top 15. And while 35 touchdowns was 4th across the league, it is tough to get much MVP traction when everyone is talking about the new stud quarterback in the league, Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City's young signal caller threw 50 touchdowns while completing a slightly higher percentage of his passes than Wilson. Now, this is not to say that Wilson should have won the MVP over Mahomes, not by a long shot. But not to get a single vote when you throw a touchdown on over 8% of your passes, Well, Wilson has another guy to thank for that. A guy who was on the other end of his career trajectory from Mahomes, Drew Brees. Because while Mahomes and Wilson extended plays with their legs, launched deep balls, and pretty much fired the ball all over the yard, the New Orleans quarterback dinked and dunked his way to MVP runner-up status, eating up the rest of the votes in what many consider to be a renaissance year for the aging vet. Listen, I get it. His team posted a 13-3 record, while he recorded 3,992 passing yards and 32 touchdowns, completing his passes at an astronomical 74.4% and only surrendering 5 interceptions. The combination of his reputation and his efficiency, some of which can be attributed to New Orleans' offensive system, pushed Wilson, who, like Brees, excelled at taking care of the football with just 7 interceptions all year, out of the MVP discussion entirely, and subsequently out of grabbing even a single vote. 2015 was another great season for Russell Wilson that earned him very little recognition from the national media. This time, unlike 2018 when the team was coming off of a down year, Wilson was leading the 2-time defending NFC champions into the season, looking to defend their conference supremacy. They did have the ghost of the previous year's Super Bowl hanging over them when they blew a title that was certainly theirs for the taking, but that didn't stop Wilson. In fact, 2015 was in many ways a coming-out party for Russ, who had spent the last few seasons serving in what most would consider to be a game manager role, behind the support of the infamous Legion of Boom Seattle defense. The team ended up finishing with a 10-6 record, behind the 13-3 Arizona Cardinals in the NFC West, after Russ rallied them back from a tough 4-5 start to sneak into a wildcard spot. He put up some excellent performances down the stretch of the season, finishing the year with over 4,000 yards for the first time in his career at 4,024 yards, all en route to leading the league with a passer rating for the year of 110.1. Once again, he was upended by another up-and-coming quarterback, this time Cam Newton, who led the Carolina Panthers' top-scoring offense to a 15-1 record that year. So while Russell had him in terms of efficiency, protecting the ball, and total passing yards, the overall team success, particularly for an organization that did not typically enjoy such successes, coupled with the dual threat value that the man known as Superman brought, was simply too much for voters to ignore. So much so that Newton secured 48 of the votes, leaving just 2 behind, one of which was scooped up by Tom Brady, who many feel was robbed of yet another MVP award. Another aging vet, Carson Palmer, took the final MVP vote as he led the Cardinals on the strength of 4,671 passing yards and 35 touchdowns on a 63.7% passing. And that left Wilson once again as the odd man out.
How come he don't want me, man?
Finally, the last year that a lot of Russ fans point to as a year that he could have, probably should have, been in serious contention for the MVP award was 2019. That is, if one guy didn't come along and take all of the votes. In the case of that 2019 year, if you watch Seattle play, you know the deal. Russell Wilson had to do everything for that team. Seattle, once known for its vaunted defense, finished 26th in yards allowed and 22nd in points scored against. Yes, Seattle had a strong running game, but the amount of miracle plays that Russell Wilson pulled off just to keep the team in contention should not be forgotten. Similar to what happened in 2018, another young quarterback burst into the scene in 2019, hogging the MVP votes. This time taking all 50 of them home as the league's second unanimous MVP ever, that man is Lamar Jackson.
I told you, when I'm finished, you can have what's left.
There won't be any left. There's never any left.
Interestingly, that 2019 MVP race, not that it was much of a race at all, was almost like a combination of the 2 previous ones we mentioned. Jackson, like Mahomes and Newton, was a young stud quarterback who absolutely scorched opposing defenses, both through the air, leading the league in touchdowns with 36, while posting a 113.3 passer rating and accumulating 3,127 yards and on the ground, as he punched in 7 rushing touchdowns and finished with an insane 1,206 rushing yards, smashing Michael Vick's single-season record for a quarterback in the process. I mean, we are talking about a guy who not only led the league in passing, but also finished 6th in the entire NFL in rushing. Simply unheard of. It is these kinds of otherworldly performances that have kept Russell Wilson from earning MVP votes every year. It's almost like his consistency has started to work against him. Since he hit his prime pretty much every year, you can count on Wilson to throw for somewhere between 3,500 and 4,200 yards and 30 to 35 touchdowns, all while taking care of the football, winning games, and making plays with his legs. But he has yet to have that season, in which he goes scorched earth and accumulates massive counting numbers. And you know what? I kind of hope he eventually does have that type of season at some point. because it would be a shame for what is undeniably going to be a Hall of Fame career to come and go, and for Wilson to never get a single MVP vote. Do you think Russell Wilson deserves an MVP vote this year? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to do that by hitting that subscribe button down below. If you like the video, then like the video. We'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune into TPS every single day for more cool videos. We'll see you.